The liquid light state universe. Introduction. The liquid light state universe discusses how the universe is like a smooth pond of water. Overlapping waves add and subtract to create nodes of manifesting matter. As continued from Your Influence in Space, the concept of a unique light state for every point in the universe is first reviewed. We see that space is dense with electromagnetic waves of all frequencies coming in from all directions. Just like water waves in an ocean, these waves add and subtract. Scientifically, the physical experience an observer undergoes is directly related to its frame of three-dimensional motion. Objects can become time-dilated, contracted, and etc. Science does a great job discussing the physical, material environment, but that is the limitation of science. Effects of relativity also occur in the mind and spirit. Mind and spirit also have direct effects on matter. Where does consciousness exist and what creates it? Why is tomorrow not as easily predicted as 1 + 1 = 2? The answer would be in free will or choice. You could say we all have a golden spot. It is the you in full confidence and awareness. It is the full you that exists without question or concern. It is important to remember that almost 99% of everything you do is customary. You have been born into society and trained to think and act in certain ways. Man-made infrastructures, ideologies, and customs are simply man-made and not natural to the universe. All of those actions are done by choice. This leads to a general programming of mental electromagnetic projections, meaning people generally walk with the same wants, don't wants, assumptions, and expectations, emulating from their bodies in the form of electromagnetic consciousness waves. All of these unnatural emanations physically alter your node of manifestation and the naturally occurring universe. Scientific applications of the liquid light state universe will yield technologies such as teleportation, levitation, canceling matter, manifesting matter from the empty space, and consciously controlled devices. Applying liquid light state principles into your daily routine will reduce anxious pacing, reaffirm personal confidence, and create a healthier, manifested body. Your Influence in Space recap. I strongly urge you read Your Influence in Space before reading the liquid light state universe. Many of these concepts are new to the scientific community, and the terminology is first defined there. Space preparation. Empty space prepares itself before matter manifests. This can most easily be seen by looking at a single spot in the universe from all relativistic frames of motion, from 0 to infinite velocity. What you will see is for the stationary observer, a yellow light will manifest as yellow. For the light speed traveler, it may be Doppler shifted to red. However, for the traveler of infinite velocity, our yellow light manifests at a wavelength of infinity. Relate that to distance after 1 second, and you see that the yellow light has traveled 1c. The red light has traveled maybe 2c. However, at the extreme, the infinitely long wave observed by the traveler of infinite velocity is already past the edge of the physical universe. Now relate the distances traveled or wavelength to energy density, and you see that the trend matches extremely well with Heisenberg's uncertainty principle about velocity and location. Velocity, for all intents and purposes, for this example, relates directly to energy density. Here we have 3 wave examples. The total energy for the wave is the same for all observers. This implies that your light encompasses the entire universe, but has most effect in the current relativistic frame and location. You have effect at the edge of space, but your energy is strongest where you stand in place. What you notice is that empty space prepares itself with infinitely long wavelengths, then as the current now manifests, the wave condenses into the current relativistic frame, giving it maximum energy. Light state. A single EM wave might or might not be enough to create matter. However, if you were to consider the light state of any point in space and time, you'd see that space is extremely dense with electromagnetic waves coming in from all directions. Light state would be the current vector account of all EM waves within a certain volume. The smallest light state that could exist would be that of the Planck voxel. The biggest would be that of the universe. The human experience. Most likely any being reading this is a human. That being written in red, it is extremely important to understand that our day-to-day Three-dimensional reality that you see is completely constructed in our brains. Our bodies have 5 major senses that we use to construct the physical reality. Not all animals or beings have the same senses. Some beings use sonar to see, some don't even have eyes. To go in the other direction, some beings may have senses that our brains cannot comprehend. You could say we measure one's intelligence by the ability to express itself and solve problems. That is why we would say that an earthworm isn't that smart or advanced. You can literally just walk over and go pick them up. Well, what does the worm think of piles of dirt or amoeba? The worm probably thinks that they're not very smart. Do your best to imagine being an earthworm and then being given the body and senses of a human. You would see a much grander picture than you could ever have possibly imagined. You would learn about stars and planets. You would learn how to construct telescopes, build and use computers. You would be an ascended worm master. So how smart or advanced are we as humans? Just imagine a being with the same gap in intelligence we have with worms, but to us. Imagine they can open portals and travel light speed with no technology. We live a very human experience, and because of that, we assume that all life must be made of matter. Matter is less than 1% of the entire construct of the universe. There's a good chance that there are beings that exist without matter. Life, on Earth, has filled every nook and cranny. Extremophiles inhabit the harshest regions and thrive. The further from earthly bodies we go, the less likely we will recognize life when we see it. At the same time, the human and many other earthly forms may be common across all planets. Everywhere in the universe, hydrogen is hydrogen, helium is helium, and so on. Why wouldn't the human form be common in other habitats that are similar to Earth? There's more chance that in liquid environments you'd have fish-like beings, in the atmosphere you'd have birds and insects. In black holes, you might have natural time travelers. The easy user interface. When looking at reality with our bodies, we are given a solid physical environment in which solids remain solid and fluids flow naturally with time. The act of picking something up with your hand is a solid-on-solid interaction. That is true to you and to the earthworm. However, consider the human body to be an easy user interface that allows our mind and spirit to easily interact with the universe. It is easiest to see when comparing the human body and physical experience within the universe to a computer mouse in an operating system like Windows. On a computer, to open an application, all you need to do is grab the mouse and double-click. Then to type words, you just push buttons on a keyboard. It is very simple to make amazing things happen on a computer, even if you have absolutely no clue how the computer works. All the programs that you've used your mouse for require hundreds, if not thousands, of lines of code to operate and function properly. Take it a step further. Even the letters and symbols that construct the codes are made of simple on-off switches, the ones and zeros of the matrix. Operating systems make using the computer more user-friendly. That is your body, the easy user interface to the universe. In order to move an object, you just reach out and move it. The electromagnetic dance. What is really going on when you move? Is there not an electromagnetic light show going off in your brain? Is your body not massaging the universe with electromagnetism? The thought alone, I want to move my arm, even subconsciously, may be the first physical hint. It is a spark, a pulse of electromagnetism emanating from your spiritual center that then overlaps with the current light state of the universe. The resultant summation is a new physical structure in the solid crystal of the universe. Your arm has moved. The human body truly is the easy user interface to the universe. After all, the body is the mind's spaceship. The construct you have of reality in your head is a simplified, user-friendly version. Senses filter, minds construct, and bodies pulsate, all to make the universe seem as if there are solid boundaries to different objects. It is true in mind. However, in practice, we are in a state of constant manifestation. Manifesting through space. Time is relative to the mind experiencing it, as well as the frames of physical motion in which it lives. The perception of time a being requires is related to surviving and being able to interact with the surrounding processes. You need time to act and react, and so your perception of time is tuned to your environment and life cycle. It is a result of evolving on Earth, around the sun, in an expanding universe. This is why objects seem solid. Our perception of time is way too slow to see all the underlying processes in the universe. The hand is quicker than the eye. Well, the Planck second is much quicker than that, occurring at 10 to the minus 44 times a second. The Planck time is the amount of time it takes for one particle or wave traveling at the speed of light to travel one Planck length, which equals 1.6 times 10 to the 35 meters. It is said that there are more units of Planck time in 1 second than there are seconds in the known universe. This shows that the amount of interaction required to simply move your arm is almost unfathomable, and at a certain time scale, for that of the Planck consciousness, it takes an eternity. Wave nature. Energies from all wave types overlap to create the experience manifested. Depending on how they add, two perfectly timed water waves traveling in opposite directions can make the appearance of no wave, or timed half a wavelength from that would be a giant spike. It is possible to have infinite energy in a system all adding to zero. Consider two sound speakers facing the same direction. They both play a constant and uniform tone, but are placed physically a half a wavelength away. The energy from the speakers in this case would be canceling each other, producing absolutely no sound. You could turn the volume up on both of them, but you still wouldn't hear a sound. It is only when you turn one speaker completely off that you can now hear the tone or manifest the energy. The current light state. Detecting the current light state can be done in many ways. Considering we are working in detecting and canceling wavelengths from the smallest in existence all the way to infinitely long, we would need to use a variety of systems. Simple charged coupling devices are able to gather information on what type of wave or photon is coming. These work great for visible light. Typical visible light, laser, and LED systems can be used to cancel out incoming visible light. Large radio antenna could be used to detect the incoming state of radio waves. These antennae would need to be on the size of the VLA, the Very Large Array. Massive radio antenna would be required to cancel out the incoming radio sources as well. For the super long radio form, we could construct something very similar to the VLA, but using all the planets in the solar system. We would need to establish a virtual solar system-sized antenna by combining all the signals of the individual antenna that have been placed on the individual planets in orbit around the Sun. The resulting area between the massive antenna on all the planets would become the effective surface area of your dish. You essentially would have a radio telescope with a diameter equal to that of our solar system. These same individual dishes can be choreographed in many different ways in order to measure the incoming light state. Once the incoming light state is known, it is then possible to create nullifying waves. It is important to remember that the signal we are looking to cancel is not necessarily in the now or of a singular wave format. Space preparation shows us that as matter manifests into three-dimensional space, that it first prepares itself by coming in from infinitely long radio form, and somewhat instantaneously that waveform transitions into a higher and higher frequency until it is in the solid form. This shows that in order to cancel the manifestation, you would need to cancel the space preparation as well. It is all happening at once. Sure, you could just cancel the current manifesting frame, but the essence of the object being canceled would remain. It would appear half manifest, like an out-of-focus picture on a camera. This relates to how astronomers use sky flats in order to cancel out the noise of the object they are looking for. You don't completely cancel out the image, but by taking a general sky flat, you can dramatically reduce the background noise. In this case, the one without using shifting frequency waves. The object would probably be canceled enough to say that it has been canceled, but it would still have effect and produce localized photons. A quick side. While studying astronomy in Boulder, Colorado, I once had a class on a very cloudy night. There was a full moon that night, and the clouds were so thick you couldn't see anything. The professor was about to cancel the class and we were all about to go home. That's when I suggested, couldn't we just take a random picture of the clouds not aiming at the moon, then take a second photo aiming directly at the moon? Then by isolating the cloud's CCD data, subtract the clouds from the moon? The professor looked at me and said, that might work. We ended up slewing to an empty patch of stars so that only cloud data was being received by the CCD. We then slewed over to the moon and took a second photo. We subtracted the CCD data of the clouds from the moon photo, and to everyone's surprise, we had an incredible photo of the moon. You could see every detail and crater. Just subtracting similar cloud CCD data was enough to clear up the sky for a great night of observation. This is an important point in the general cancellation of matter. Back to the main point. By using regular or constant waves, you may be able to somewhat cancel the object, but it would still appear fuzzy and somewhat manifest. The ideal way to fully cancel an object from manifesting into the universe is to use the changing waveform. This would require all the varying telescopes, lasers, and dishes to work in harmony to create the effect of these rapidly scaling waveforms. Going off the Boulder, Colorado example, it may be the case that incoming signals may be generalized for a particular area. Ideally, the light state you would want to be detecting would be that of the now. Then you would cancel manifestation with waves directly related to the moment. However, when taking a crystal clear image of the moon through the clouds, we didn't subtract the background light of the clouds directly in front of the moon. We used sky that was next to it. It may have even been possible to use a picture that had been taken years prior. The important information, and I stress this point, is that every object may have a manifest signature which could be recorded. These signatures could then be used whenever, by whomever, to create effects of cancellation and manifestation. It would almost be like the engineering books that exist today. Stress, strain, and material relationships have been developed for many years. The same would be the case for manifestation tables of the common particles. You could then document the frequencies, orientations, scalar ratios, and any other properties that may be commonplace. The use of a general particle manifestation table would also need to be accompanied with the local manifestation flats. A manifestation flat could be equivalent of a sky flat. It is the localized incoming electromagnetism, but in this case it would be that of a volumetric light state. A fun side, not only is it possible to gather the manifestation properties of particles, but it is also possible to record entire structures, like homes. Theoretically, and eventually a practicality, you could turn on and off your entire house with the flip of a switch. By turn off, I mean completely cancel from existence, and by turn on, I mean manifest from the emptiness of space. A fresh start. Using the systems of detectors and emitters discussed earlier, you can make any matter you choose from the emptiness of space. A less advanced way, yet proper stepping stone in this achievement, would be to create a zone of absolute zero. I'm not familiar with any term for a completely empty environment except for a vacuum, but I'm referring to a three-dimensional volume that has absolutely nothing inside of it. It would not even let solar system-sized EM waves pass through or neutrinos. This raw, pure, empty space would be the perfect building block for all matter. Imagine if you could create this environment in a table-sized box or storage closet. You could put whatever you wanted inside it. The box would then determine the light state and cancel whatever you put inside. It would be a box that would always remain empty. Similar to the two-speaker example earlier, with both speakers playing at the highest volume setting, you would not hear sound, see an image, or magnetically interfere with whatever is inside this box. You could say the box is completely empty. In order to retrieve items from the box, you just flip a switch that turns off the canceling wave energy. Your item now exists within the box and can physically be removed and used. These same tables could then be used for transmutation as well. You would be able to see the differences in the light state of each element. From that, you could either add or subtract the necessary EM waves to create the desired results. Teleportation and levitation. It is even possible to use the knowledge and theoretical technologies to instantaneously teleport objects. Levitation could be considered localized teleportation, so we will brush on that as well. Considering that matter is essentially the current light state of the universe, it may be possible to bend or alter the location at which the material focuses. This same concept can potentially be used for bi- or multi-locating, depending on how much of the object is teleported, and if you choose to only teleport to one spot per moment. It is similar to how you can use a piece of glass to reflect an image on a wall. Yes, the light you are projecting passes directly through the glass. An image can clearly be seen. However, at the same time, part of the image is being reflected and appearing on the wall. This light or image is at two places at once. It is bilocating. You could then use 3 pieces or any number of pieces of glass to create the multi-locating effect. Apply the concepts of refracting and reflecting light to the manifestation of matter based on incoming scalar electromagnetism and light state, and you see that you can alter the location of natural nodes rather instantaneously. Earlier in the book, we discussed the cancellation or manifestation of matter. Here we are talking about the shifting of nodes. Shifting nodes occurs all the time, every day. It is the act of matter moving through space. the manifestation rate could be considered timeless, as it is related to the scales of the Planck, although the flowing nature of the liquid light state universe does not have intervals of non-existence, for it is an ever-existing flow of harmony. Planck scales are still a good way to equate. In a sort of fashion, to give a measurement of time it would take to teleport, levitate, bilocate, or etc. just really doesn't make any sense. It is instantaneous. It is now. To not be too sidetracked, man created measurements of time and the concept of a second. It is one of the daily happenings that subconsciously emanate from your electromagnetic center. We will talk about how underlying conscious assumptions affect the natural state of the universe on our mind, body, and spirit graph later. For now, let's stay focused, no pun intended, on focusing or reflecting the natural nodes of manifestation. How can you alter the location of nodes? The easiest way may be through gravitational lensing. Gravitational lensing can be seen occurring naturally in the universe. Physically, it is the act of large bodies having so much gravity that they are able to bend the light as it passes by. It is most easily seen when looking for black holes. The bending of a star's light as it passes by a large gravitational force will alter the apparent location of the star. We would want to bend the sphere of light that surrounds the body being teleported. Depending on the direction of travel, relative to the starting point is how you would want to bend the light. Light coming from behind you would need to be accelerated. Light coming from in front of you would need to be slowed. Light coming from the sides would just need to be moved while staying at the same vibrational state. The electromagnetic alteration required would resemble the picture above. It may also be possible to achieve this alteration of the liquid light state by using permanent magnets, electromagnets, and potentially geometric shapes of dense material. Harmony of zero. There are many options or ways to create an offset yet harmonious relationship within the universe. Here is a very simple diagram to show an incoming light state for the volume of a space. This volume may or may not have a conscious entity within it. However, for this example, let's say it is a uniform light state. It is possible to create harmonious motions within this space. Technologically, these internal, never-ending motions may be used to generate great power in mind, body, and spirit, and potentially even used as a never-ending supply of electricity. Let's be square for a minute. For this next section, we have turned the incoming shape of the universe into a square. We are simply altering the way we are demonstrating the wave nature of the universe. Now let's add a generic light state value to the square. For this case, the value is x. The wave is in perfect harmony. It will continue to act as x inside and outside the interior of the square. In other words, this system is equal to 0. It is in a golden spot of never-ending existence. What if we were to somehow be able to trick the light state to think that inside the square is x, when in reality it is not? The answer comes in the forms of magic squares. Magic squares. Magic squares come in all size grids, 3x3, 4x4, 5x5, and so on. Numbers are laid out into a grid, and no matter which way the numbers are added together, they will equal the same value on the outside. For example, in the above magic square, all verticals, horizontals, diagonals, and corner sets are equal to the value of 34. This arrangement has profound implications for creating structures that are harmonious with the light state. These structures may be designed such that uniformity only exists when in motion or harnessing energy. For example, if the 16 were 17, then the system would not be in harmony. However, if you have a device drawing an energy of 1 from the 17 with a wire, then you will have a virtual 16. This structure would be able to theoretically remain in motion while generating an energetic work output of 1. Magic sphere. Here we see how the inside and outside of the magic ring or sphere are in perfect harmony. This is a state of being where the body is perfectly sustainable with its environment. The smaller circles on the inside are nodes that have been created by the individual. Here you see that the 4 interior nodes are in perfect vibrational harmony with the universe. Imagine now that the large circle above depicts one of the smaller 4 circles. You can see how these individual nodes, which represent thoughts or physical creations, may continue in this fashion inward, creating an infinite number of potential creations, while maintaining perfect harmony with the universe. An entity in this state of being is in a state of infinite and instantaneous manifestation of all thought forms projected, meaning their thoughts and visions will become their reality. Personal implications. There are many implications that arise from looking at the universe in such a fashion. You see that your body exists in all of space and time. It becomes apparent that your thoughts and vibrational harmony alone affect the solid or manifested state of the universe. The golden spot. Considering your mind, body, and spirit are part of the universe, it is important to understand that there is a golden spot where you will fully manifest. This is the place in the universe where you are happiest, healthiest, most confident, and therefore most creative. Earlier we mentioned how the overlapping electromagnetic waves of the universe add and subtract, which forms nodes of manifestation. We also discussed how the human body is an easy user interface. Other than the original primordial thought, Big Bang, or naturally occurring universe, you could say there are also the minds of the beings that inhabit it. A smooth pond with falling water. Consider the universe with no mind. It is a perfect smooth pond of water. Then a thought arises, as if someone were to have tossed a stone. The ripples emulate outward, causing distortions on the surface of the pond. Then another thought, another stone. The pond becomes filled with rings of waves, all heading towards each other. Then they overlap. Nodes are created. Each additional stone that gets tossed in creates more rings and more nodes. As the stones change shape, so do the nodes. Eventually the stones stop being tossed, the pond becomes still, and again returns to its natural state. The same is true for the liquid light state universe. All subconscious and conscious thoughts are in constant vibration emanating from your spiritual center. The wants, don't wants, assumptions, and expectations you hold true in your gut become the vibrational output you are sending into this pond. They are the shape of the stone you are tossing into the pond. All these internally and externally flowing ripples create a distortion within your manifestation, which translates into a pacing of your mind, body, or spirit. They can create a partially manifested body similar to the bilocating examples mentioned earlier.